What's going on, guys? My name is Triforce Addiction. Welcome back to another COD mode video. So today I want to discuss my final thoughts on the Striker 45 SMG that got released last week for the new season. So again, even now, the Striker 45 has a lot of mixed opinions. More so probably negative, that I would say. And for me, I gave it the benefit of the doubt, obviously, but at the same time, you know, as I started using it after getting Diamond, you know, using on other maps, I started to like really notice the flaws of the weapon. Of course, like I said, I wouldn't really notice like a lot of different flaws if you're just in shipment the entire time for those 120 games. But, you know, using it in every normal, like everyday situations, it just, yeah, I'm starting to understand why people have a negative view on this gun. So probably one of the main reasons why I decided to give this one the benefit of the doubt is mainly because people were already making judgments on this gun before it was even released. And yes, you could go and test it in the testing room, but I mean, they were saying this stuff before the global update even came out. So I decided, shit, let me try it out. And, you know, before it came out, I was testing it in the room, you know, in the training room. And, you know, I thought it was a pretty decent weapon. I mean, the headshot damage was pretty good. The range was all right. I would say probably the only problematic thing was maybe the bullet speed. But again, it was something that I was not really focusing too much on until after I got this gun Diamond. Another major complaint that I do hear for the Striker is the fact that the recoil is uncontrollable, or at least it's very hard to control, which is something that, you know, as I start using this more, like I start to kind of understand why. And that's mainly because, you know, like within the first shots, you won't feel the recoil go up like crazy. But the more you just keep on shooting, yeah, it's going to start going up extremely high. And it kind of seems like even if you use like the heaviest barrel with like some sort of, you know, vertical recoil attachment like a Strike 4 grip or even a rubberized grip tape, it never really seems to be enough to have the recoil at least settle down in some ways. It kind of has that Pharaoh situation, like where you just put no matter what you put on it, no matter how heavy you make it, no matter how stable it is, it's always going to have the same type of recoil pattern. It's kind of like the same here, but maybe not to the extreme amount as the Pharaoh was. Keep in mind, all the side stuff with the Striker 45, like the reload or even just the ADS times are okay. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with that. I mean, even the range is pretty good for what it is. I think one of the biggest problems is by far the bullet speed. I don't really think the stats are correct, and I say that because there's always some weird delay when you're like trying to land a shot. It's like it says it's like 700 meters per second, but it really doesn't feel that way. Keep in mind, the 700 meters per second thing is really only active if you do have the largest barrel. But even then, sometimes it just really doesn't feel like enough, even if you're like close to the person. That's the weird part. And, you know, I looked at the bullet speeds for most of the guns that do have that type of feature, you know, the AS Val, Grau, and even the SMGs, you know, like stuff like the KSP, and even the OTS-9. Like, they always seem to land their target, or at least land their shots a lot faster than what the Striker could do, despite their lower stats. If anything, throughout last season, I was using the KSP a lot, and even at longer ranges, I was still able to hit my shots very well. But with the Striker, even in close range, despite it having a much higher amount of bullet speed, it just doesn't really feel the same way. That could probably just be me, probably due to the lower fire rate. But, you know, given that it has like, I guess around the same damage as maybe the GKS, I would say maybe a huge difference between the two is that this one has a better 4-shot range rather than a 3-shot. But it kind of makes me wonder why they even bothered putting bullet speed on this one, at least. Some could say it's for that 4-shot range and maybe even the headshot multiplier, but yeah, I mean, they probably should have increased it a little bit. But the fire rate is probably one of the reasons why it feels kind of slow, because, you know, when you're like recently when people have been using the Grau against me, they kill me instantly. In fact, I feel like they kill me more like quicker than landing all 3 shots in the head with an M13. That's literally how it feels. And the same could be said about the Maddox, but it's because of obviously their damage fire rate as well as like their super mega high bullet speed. It's safe to say that most of the assault rifles, maybe with the exception of the AS Val, are really, no, actually also the Odin, are really the only ones that have like, you know, the bullet speed of like over 1,000 meters per second. with SMGs, they're usually a lot lower, maybe going to like 900 or even 800 at best. But for the most part, I mean, assault rifles, yeah, obviously they're gonna have the higher bullet speed, but it does explain, like, I learned a lot about bullet speed yesterday, and it kind of explained why the Grau was killing so fast, even faster than the M13. But the Striker 45, of course, is a different story because this one has a very, like, a much, slower fire rate. But even with all the range buffs and everything, or even having the stainless steel barrel, it just doesn't really hit as it should. And keep in mind, the AS Val I think actually has less than the Striker 45, and that one seems to hit perfectly. Maybe it's just me, but maybe you guys have noticed it as well. But yeah, it feels like there's just some weird delay with it. But I mean, it's still fun to use. I mean, the headshot multiplier, having it be up to like 51 damage, at least up close, is pretty good. I mean, I have gotten some pretty clutch kills because of it. But I feel like they probably could do a little bit better just with the bullet speed. I think that's the only main issue. And overall, if they just improve it, I think the weapon would be far better. But another thing that they could fix, obviously, is maybe add a little bit more recoil control. I mean, don't make it into a complete laser, but like at the same time, make it so that's a little more easier to control for everyone to use. For me personally, it's not that hard to control. I mean, when I use those, like the Strike foregrip as well as that, I mean, it's very bearable to use. It's just at times it just kind of feels like it gets in the way. But you have weapons like the GKS that do around the same amount of damage, maybe a little higher, or actually around the same, to be honest. You have that weapon that is complete hit scan, but this one isn't. And that's another weird thing. And keep in mind, like the fact that it's having bullet speed as well as like not a really consistent 3-shot kill area, like, yeah, it kind of makes the gun a worse version of the GKS at times. But I will say it's a lot faster in terms of mobility. I'm only saying to improve the bullet speed because I'm not sure if making this thing hit scan would actually be the best idea in the world. Again, that probably, like, if the devs did that, it would probably face a lot of backlash. It'd probably be one of the more overpowered SMGs. But yeah, just improve it just a little bit. That's all I'm asking. And it's not guaranteed whether or not they're going to change it before the Legendary comes out, or even like the season after. But yeah, given that this gun's been getting a lot of negative feedback so far, I'm assuming that they're probably going to make some changes to it. If it's not next season, then it's probably going to be in season 9 when, the next major update comes out. But yeah, despite all the negative stuff that I just said about the weapon, I mean, it does look amazing in Diamond, though. I will say that. It's well worth your time to get, especially, later on down the line if this thing does actually get buffed. But yeah, I mean, like, the Diamond studs, I mean, it just works perfectly. And keep in mind, this was a Modern Warfare weapon, so this is the first time it's ever really getting Diamond camo. Anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe for some more COD mobile content, and I'll see you guys next time.